Welcome to Tech Talk, y'all.
Hello, and welcome to Tech Talk, y'all. Episode 352. I'm Sanjay Parekh.
And I'm Adam Walker, and we have a double dose episode for you today because we missed last week because Hurricane Helene came through and someone, not me, was without power for 13 hours.
Yeah, so the funny thing here is that you super prepared like it was the end of the world.
Yes.
And got batteries and water and all this
I'm
stuff.
basically a doomsday prepper at this point.
By the way,
yes.
When you told me that you had bottled water, I was laughing out loud, literally at you, because come on, we're not going to not have water.
Yeah. It's
even
unlikely.
If something gets, not unlikely. It's not going to happen. And if we do not have water, there's government-y people that will figure all of that stuff out and give you water. So it's fine.
Fair.
I did not prepare at all. And we were fine until 7:45 in the morning when a tree decided enough's enough. Yeah. And it took out all the power lines outside of our neighborhood. So 13 hours later, we finally get power back. In the interim, I ate a good amount of ice cream because, it was as going bad.
And
as one does. You don't want to have it all liquidy in the freezer. So
that's the worst.
It's a tough life, but you got to eat the ice cream when you can. So
and we make light of it, but we do recognize that there's a lot of people that had some serious devastation, and we certainly hearts go out to them.
Yeah, and continuing on. So hopefully, some of that stuff gets better. I know even here in Georgia, there's still people without power.
Yeah, it's crazy
just because of the impact of Hurricane Helene.
So wild.
On that note, we actually do have a handful of Hurricane Helene stories we want to talk about. First up. Hurricane Helene devastates quartz mines critical for worldwide semiconductor manufacturing. And I am super surprised. I've never heard of this before. I did not know that we had a lock on high quality quartz.
Yeah. Who knew?
Here in the US.
Or in the path of Hurricane Helene, for that matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's one of these weird things that ends up happening. I think when something like this happens, you discover this is like super critical to everything in the world.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing for me. We have talked about how, other countries have a lock on this and that, and they could prevent us from having it. We've got a lock on this.
Yeah.
And if you're going to prevent us from having that, then we can prevent you from having this.
Yeah.
So, in some respects, I think this is a good thing that we've got a lock on it, and we don't have to worry, hopefully, as much for things being withheld from us.
Another Hurricane Helene story. Hurricane Helene takes out 370 cell towers, 103 on backup power. I tagged this because it just didn't really even occur to me that the hurricane coming through could take out that many cell towers. That's wild. That's so much.
I mean, you've seen them. They're tall, spindly things.
Yeah,
they're not like big concrete bunkers.
Yeah.
So of course, a hurricane with those force winds is going to be able to take them out. But I think part of the issue too is it says this 103 on backup power. It's not even just necessarily the towers going down. It's the connection to power going down.
Right.
And they all have backup power.
Right.
But that backup power is not unlimited, right? Usually I think they plan for 24 or 48 hours on backup power. And then after that, it's all done.
Yep.
And so, there you go. And I think this highlights some of the issues that have been happening, especially in North Carolina in terms of communications where you just don't know what's happening in there because nobody can talk to anybody else. So
crazy.
Yeah. Next up, talking about power, 3 Mile Island nuclear plant will restart to power Microsoft AI. And everybody else is like, hey, didn't we have a problem there before?
I feel like this is the start of a dystopian sci-fi movie. It's like think about it. There's a nuclear power plant that had a meltdown that went offline, that's been offline for a long freaking time. And now it's going to come back online specifically to power AI. Come on. There's no better intro for a dystopian movie than that. Come on, let's go. If somebody doesn't write that, you are missing out.
Yeah, so. I mean, I would imagine there's a bunch of writers being like, oh, that's how we should have started the movie. That's even better than what we had. So I forgot what the name is, but they're renaming 3 Mile Island because everybody, even to this day, still remembers wait, that's not a good thing. So they're renaming it something else, but Microsoft is going to buy 100% of the power coming off of this nuclear plant to power their AI.
I still can't get over it, man. It's just killing me.
Part of me is like, do we really need AI? Like, is the benefit going to outweigh the cost of doing things like this? Like,
no, it's not. It's going to destroy us. Is what's going to happen.
Yeah,
but where
I have
it's
a hard
like
time seeing it.
AI is like, it's like driving past that wreck on the road. Like, you shouldn't look, but gosh, you've just got to. And that's where we're headed. It's like, or we're like the deer in the headlights. Like, we're looking at the headlight, the truck's coming at you, but you just can't look away.
Can't look away.
Yeah. So
yeah,
anyway.
so you're telling me you're a rubbernecker then on the highway.
Yeah,
you're
I try not to be.
I get annoyed by.
I don't slow down though. I try not.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up,
so you're going full speed, looking at the side, so you can run into the person in front of you. Okay, got it.
Of course.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Next up, you can get an at-home flu shot, quote unquote, starting next year. So it's not a shot; it shoves up your nose. It's one of those.
It's a nasal spray.
It's a nasal spray.
Right.
It sounds
it doesn't shove up your nose. You place it in your nostril and spray it. And so, some years ago, I like how you are enjoying this so much. Some years ago, we actually took our annual flu shots as the nasal mist because they were saying it was more effective. That year.
Yeah.
And it was pleasant. It was drippy in the nostril, but not having to get a shot was kind of nice.
This reminds me of, have you seen, there's like some comedy sketch about being addicted to Afrin, the nasal spray Afrin for your allergies. Like that's what this reminds me of. It's like you have people addicted to the flu shot.
I don't think it gives you any kind of, reaction.
No nasal relief. Okay.
No,
all right.
Yeah, no nasal relief.
Yeah.
It's a little drippy in there.
And
it protects you during the flu season. I think this is a great thing. I think there is some cost to it initially, but if you don't want to go out, I think this might be a great thing for folks that are in rural locations where your doctor's office might be like an hour and a half drive.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah.
I mean, maybe you're also not getting the flu there because there's nobody around for an hour and a half.
Speaking of remote locations.
Yeah. Speaking of that, a story from Texas. Cards Against Humanity sues SpaceX, alleging trespassing near the Texas border.
So this is a lot to unpack in this story.
It's a convoluted story. Yeah,
you want to go?
You start.
So apparently Cards Against Humanity released like some kind of like special edition or whatever it was that people could buy. And the added money was going to be used to buy up land along the path that the border wall was supposed to go down, so that when the border wall encroached on the land, Cards Against Humanity would be able to sue the government about the border wall to get the border wall stopped. Like that was the premise of the whole thing. It was a little bit of a stunt. Like, let's be real.
Right.
But still, it's clever. It's interesting. Well, the government didn't encroach on their land. It was apparently SpaceX that did. So now SpaceX is getting sued by Cards, which I think I might like that better if I'm being honest. Like I kind of enjoy this. So
I mean, I don't have an issue with SpaceX directly, just the person that owns SpaceX.
Yeah, fair enough. That's fair. Yeah,
that's actually who we have an issue with.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so in case you don't know Cards Against Humanity, they have a card game that in the article, they say their primary product is a Mad Libs style card game in which players fill in the blanks with a sentence with a word or phrase in their hand of cards, with the most outrageous sentence winning the round.
Right.
It's marketed as a quote unquote party game for horrible people. And it often results in phrases that are intentionally off color. And so, I mean, I do appreciate I've never played the card game, but I do appreciate this work that they're doing there to keep people from doing the wrong things necessarily.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of the wrong thing, Uber caught overcharging? ? How having credits in your account might be costing you. I actually don't remember reading. This one's from like 2 weeks ago. So
it might have been so here's the basic premise. Somebody was looking at their phone, and they usually bounce between Uber and Lyft to get the cheaper price. And then they had some credits on their Uber account, and they saw that the price of this trip that they do frequently was way more expensive. And so then they're like, well, let me go check over on Lyft. And the price was still the normal price that they usually pay for this trip. And they're like, well, that's weird. And so they kept doing testing, and then they checked other people's phones from the same location on Uber for the same trip.
Yeah.
And they were getting a lower price. So it seems like Uber is inflating the price of trips if you have credits in your account in an effort to use them up more quickly. Because for you, it's not going to seem as much because it's like, oh, well, you've got these credits. So the cost, the implicit cost then is
that's dirty. That's so like, that's
dirty.
some like what do they call it? Like black hat UX or what? I forget what it's called now. It's like something like
like dark pattern.
Dark pattern. Yeah, that's some very dark pattern. Like that's terrible
user experience. Yeah, it's not good. And I don't like it. So for our listeners, if you are an Uber user, maybe you should not load up your account.
I always go with
credits.
Lyft personally. I just like Uber's just had too many issues over the years, and like I like Lyft's vibe. Like I like just the whole vibe of Lyft. Like I just always have. So
and you know what the funny thing is? I've been in so many rides that a lot of drivers ride for both of them.
Oh yeah,
they do
tons.
Uber and Lyft.
Tons.
So it's I mean at this point it's basically the same people anyway. So
it is. Yeah,
what does it matter?
Yeah.
Next up, something that does matter potentially. Biden proposes banning Chinese vehicles, quote unquote, connected car technology from U.S. roads. So this hit a little close to home for me because I'm a huge fan of Volvo, which has a lot of this connected tech stuff. Volvo as a company is owned by a Chinese company, Geely.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't know if they get caught in the crosshairs of this too, but I think some of this, you know, we've talked about the surveillance capabilities of these cars and things like that.
Crazy, man.
And as we get to autonomous vehicles, like this could be a roving weapon in another country, right? Like if you have some kind of issue, like if China were to have an issue with the US, they could clog up our roads with our cars.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, or just like straight up surveillance, like enemy of the state type level surveillance from another country. Like,
being able to know where everything is because there are cars driving around.
Everyone.
Yeah, driving around like military bases and things like that. We talked many, many episodes ago about Strava and how military people were using that and then exposing the fact that there were bases in places that people didn't know there were bases.
Given the exact perimeter of the base.
Right, because they were running around on the base. Right? So
that's so good.
Like all this data can be very dangerous in terms of national security because people can do things that you just weren't expecting them to be able to do.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, next up, also government related. California governor vetoes bill requiring speeding alerts in new cars, and I think this was like an alert that would like beep at you when you hit a certain mile per hour over the speed limit.
Right. So 10 miles over.
Yeah, 10 miles. And I'll tell you this, Waze, the app Waze does this. Like and I've left it on many a time by accident, and I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. It's very annoying to be beeped at. Yeah, and I really don't speed that much either. But just in case, it's irritating.
So I have this feature in my car. The Volvo actually has it built into the car.
Okay.
Because it'll read speed limit signs. And if you go, you can set it 5 over, 10 over, 15 over.
Okay.
So you can tell it how many miles over you want it to kind of alert you at.
Yeah.
So I've got it set for 10 because by and large, you won't get caught for speeding up to about 10 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Right.
And I actually appreciate it because it just goes bing and then it reminds you like, oh, you're going a little bit too fast. I don't want to get a ticket. So it helps me bring down my speed.
So I will say this. I would like that. But so the problem with the Waze is it stops your music, it messes with your music because it's an app on your phone beeping and the music's playing. So that's actually why I don't like it because it interferes with my jams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think if it was the car, actually, I'd be okay with it.
Interferes with my jams. So I'm still hearing my music over the speakers or podcasts, but the beep comes kind of alongside with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I kind of like it. Like you know, I try not to speed, but you know, sometimes there's stretches where you just
listen, man,
you're not paying attention and it's easy to go fast.
It gets a lot easier since I started driving a car that's a lot slower. Like it's so much easier not to speed when you drive a car that's just very slow to begin with. It's like, okay, I'm going to crawl along here. It's cool. Y'all just go ahead. It's fine. I'm not in any hurry. I'm okay. It's fine. We're good. So yeah.
There you go. Next up, quote unquote, that's crazy. Fans react to tech YouTuber Marquise Brownlee launches a $50 per year wallpaper app for iOS and Android. And yes, I agree. That's crazy. The other thing that's crazy about this is how many permissions this app takes.
Yeah, that's the real thing. Is like
all kinds of things. Well, there's like multiple layers. So if you don't know Marquise Brownlee, he's a very well-known YouTuber. He's millions upon millions of views on his videos.
You've probably seen him, and you might not know who he is. You've probably seen him.
Yeah. I mean, and he's got collabs. The Adams shoes, ATOMS. They've got a collaboration.
Is that him?
Yeah, he's on there on Adams.com with a collab shoe with them.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And he's done a lot of things. He's done a lot of great reviews. Very honest, you can
seems
trust
like a
those
good
reviews.
dude. Yeah,
seems like a good. He's built this up. He's actually on the U.S. Ultimate Frisbee team. And they were just in Australia. He was gone for a couple of weeks.
I had no idea.
Putting out videos. Yeah, there was an article, I think, in the New York Times or something about him and why you're not seeing him on videos because he was in Australia.
That's
for
crazy.
like the final competitions.
That's crazy.
And he's never really talked about it. So he seems like a good dude, but this was a huge miss of launching this app. And so the other crazy thing that happened is it's so poorly done that people were able to go in and figure out the paths of all the wallpapers and scrape all of them and download all of them and post them online.
What? Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's just,
wow.
Sometimes when you branch out from the thing that you're really well known from and trying to do something else, it's a hard road sometimes. And maybe sometimes you should think twice about what you're doing there.
All right, I'm going to combine these next two because they're similar and whatever. Here's how much Disney Plus will charge to share your password. And then next article, Disney Plus is cracking down on password sharing, but here's how to do it anyway. I don't even remember how much. Again, this was like from 2 weeks ago. How much was it extra?
I think it's like $6 or $9 a month.
Just pay the $6. Like if you're like, just pay it. Like it's not that big of a deal. Just pay it. Like just be a good user and pay the money. That's like whatever, like.
Yeah, the add-on is $6.99 per month.
It's worth it. If you're going to enjoy the programming, just pay the $6.99. That's my. I'm going to advocate.
And actually, the solutions in there are kind of wonky to add the users. I actually have a better way that you could do this, but that's going to be for a tech rec in the future, not for this episode. I have a different tech rec I'm making this time. But
all right.
In the future, I'm going to tell you how do you get around all of these things.
Yeah.
Because it kind of harkens back to my first startup back in the day.
Yeah.
But pay attention in the future for a future episode when we talk about that. And how to
Got it.
Next up, your mom can now set you Fortnite time limits. We'll just talk about that one. We'll do the next one later because it's epic. Hopefully your mom is not going to set.
Yeah, I think that would be weird. If my mom was setting my Fortnite time limits, that'd be very strange. But I mean, it is interesting that Fortnite is now giving this feature to parents, though how to say this without sounding like an old fogey. It's dumb. Like just kick your kids off the freaking console. Like you know what I'm saying? Like why do we need time? Like just kick them off. Like anyway, I sound like an old fogey. It's fine. I
feel like this move might be a move by Epic to help grow the user base of Fortnite because now some parents will feel like, well, okay, I'll let you play it, but it's going to be limited to 20 minutes a day.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right?
Though 20 minutes isn't even enough time for one game, but whatever. Yeah, I get your point.
Not for us.
Not
because,
for good players. Come on.
Because, we're always going for the victory.
We're going for number one. Okay. Yeah. Next up, Epic because Epic doesn't have anything better to do. Epic is suing Google again, and now Samsung too. So, they've been suing Apple. Now they're suing Google and Samsung for colluding to control third-party apps environments because, that's what monopolies do. And they don't like it. And I kind of love that they're fighting back, but at the same time, it feels like, I don't know, it's a lot of effort and money. So,
how much of a war chest do they have for legal bills is what I'm
apparently a ton. I don't know. Yeah. It's like,
how many lawyers are they paying for?
Well, it's like, okay, so you're small compared to Google. You're a small gaming company, small compared to Apple. Okay. How many giants do you want to take on at a time? You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I imagine they're small compared to Samsung too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're not.
Yeah. I don't
Samsung.
I don't get it. It seems crazy to me. Whatever.
I think they're going for the like just the community vibes or something like hey, they're there for us. They're fighting for the user. They're fighting for the rights. They're Tron. That's a callback to the movie Tron. Fight for the user. You probably don't remember that.
I've watched Tron. I don't remember the fighting for the user part, but I've watched Tron. Yeah, I watched the original and watched the new version.
Okay. Tron, he fights for the users.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what he's there for.
Okay. I did not remember that part.
They get de-rezzed by the master control program because they're fighting for the users. So you don't want to get de-rezzed. Nobody wants to get de-rezzed. That's a bad thing. That's not a good thing. But something that is a good thing, at least for the people that got on the receiving end of this, OpenAI raises $6.6 billion in funding at a $157 billion valuation. You know what's funny is I hear people talking about sometimes like, oh, you think we can get in on OpenAI and invest some money? I'm like, if you're investing now, like the upside is nothing really. I mean, by the time the tech company is being talked about on every news station in the world, your window has closed. Like that's you gotta invest it when it's still a fringe thing. This is not a fringe thing. Yeah, if you think you're going to be like one of these folks that invested in Facebook early and then became billionaires because of it, like investing now that OpenAI is raising $6.6 billion at $157 billion valuation is like not going to do it. And by the way, they're still like just burning through this cash. I'm sure. Yeah. There's still talk that they're going to have to raise even after this. So listen, if you feel so compelled that you think it's a good bet that they're the next company that goes to, I don't know, what comes after $1 trillion valuation? Man, I got no idea. 1,000 trillion. I can't count that high. I don't know. What's after $1 trillion? Billion, trillion? I'm going to pretend I'm trying to figure it out when I know that I have no idea. Okay. If you think it's the next $1,000 trillion company, whatever that is. It's a gabillion. I think that's the technical term, right? Gabillion at that point. So gabillion. All right. Speaking of gabillions, Meta acquires the threads.com domain name. That's really all I have to say about that. And I'll just move on to the next one. I think that's an interesting one because they're at threads.net and threads.com was, they acquired from somebody that bought this communications. I forgot who it was now, in the article, but I find these kind of acquisitions interesting because if you recall way back in the day, Delta did not have Delta.com. They were DeltaAir.com. Oh, I don't remember that. And Delta.com was owned by somebody else that was doing something totally different. It was like and it was years before, after the web took off, before Delta actually bought that domain name. And everybody was always like, why are you just not buying this domain name? Yeah. Just throw money at them and make it all happen. Yeah. And they finally did. I've never heard the story of how that actually happened and how much it cost. But I think, getting these important domain names or short domain names is very vital for services like this. So crazy. This can only help them, I think, push Threads. But the next one. All right, I'll do the next one. Meta fined $101 million for storing hundreds of millions of passwords in plain text, subheadline, and Sanjay's head exploded. Yep. If you ever needed a story to explain to you why you should use a password manager and repeat passwords, that's why. This is the story. Yeah, right. That's it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They didn't say it ever got compromised or anything else like that. Your password's from there, but still, this is the reason why. Scary. Not. Mm-mm. And then finally, before weird and wacky, let's see where to go. There it is. Space startup seeks to solve solar power's daylight problem. So, here's the idea. They're basically saying like, hey, we're going to put up a big giant reflector in space and extend the amount of time that solar panels work, by 90 minutes on either side of the day. So before morning or before sunrise and after sunset, to crank out more juice. And that's interesting. Kind of interesting. Yeah. I guess you're going to have a big giant spot on the earth where it's like weirdly daylight, where everything else around it is not. And I wonder, I imagine, and this probably isn't true, but I imagine like a human accidentally stepping into that spot and just being eviscerated, just like, just you know what that's from? That's from Civilization. the game.
Oh, okay.
There used to be disasters in there. And one of them was the beaming of power from space, and it misaligns. And then
if
it
you
takes out a bunch of buildings and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I don't want that to happen.
I think this is just sunlight. They're not actually beaming power, so it's just light. So
I guess.
I think you'll just get weirdly bright.
It's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Time for the Weird and Wacky segment.
Abominable snowman.
He's not an axe murderer.
One of the TAs turned out to be a bot.
All right, listen, we have a ton of weird and wacky for you today, and this is going to be great. And I'm very excited about my tech break, so stay tuned for that. But first up in weird and wacky, everyone's making fun of Tesla's photos of a Cybertruck parking lot. And if you if you look at the photos, like it just looks like almost like a weird like art piece, like where it's like all these weird geometric. It looks like a weird geometric shaped piece of art. That's what these photos look like. It's hilarious. But
there's like one that's not parked perfectly in line with the rest. And it kind of weirdly stands out. And so, there's a theory that whoever parked that wrong is probably going to get fired by Elon Musk.
I would think so. Yeah. So,
but somebody that Elon Musk is firing, Warlord straight out of Mad Max says Elon Musk remotely shut down his Cybertruck. Here's now the downside of having a car from Elon Musk. So this is a Chechen Republic leader, Russian warlord and leader of the Chechen Republic. Ramzan Kadyrov.
Right. Yes, that's how I would have pronounced it.
I said that right. I apologize, Ramzan, if I said that wrong. But apparently his Cybertruck he's been promoting it, and he mounted a machine gun on the top of it.
Right. As one does
with, because that kind of all fits. Because you want to pretend like you're in Tron. And apparently it was remotely shut down. He's apparently got two others that are still working, I think, but one was remotely shut down.
That's the downside of having a vehicle that is ultimately controlled, by someone else, is they can just be like, I think we're going to take that offline. Boop, we're done. So you have to make the sound actually when you do it.
When you push the button, it always makes that sound. So,
that's the sound. It's the same sound that happens when you go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. So anyway, all right. Next up,
that's why you're scared, because your car might be shutting down.
That's it. Boom, and then you don't know. It could go either way. All right. Next up, finally, a flying cart. So not a car, a flying cart. The Pelotron is a robotic.
I think it's pallet.
Palletron. Oh, thank you. That makes way more sense. Palletron. The Palletron. Palletron is a robotic hover cart for moving stuff anywhere. So it's basically like if you put a bunch of drones and you like together and you put like a basket on top and a handle. That's what this is.
That's what this is.
It's kind of great. I'm not lying.
Like you can go upstairs with it.
A guy going up the stairs with it. It's like it just keeps perfectly level and just goes up the stairs. Like it's no big deal. It's like that's brilliant. I love that. So
you know what the next step in this is going to be?
Putting a baby in it?
Yep. Baby stroller, right? Like you have seen how many parents struggle with baby strollers through like stairs, and
it's like the smoothest riding baby stroller there. It's riding on air, baby.
Right, exactly. Now the thing is that you got to worry about is the baby stroller gets bumped and then it goes flying into like traffic or something. So
that'd be bad.
Maybe that's not.
Or if it like gets too much power and suddenly the baby's like 10 feet in the air, like that'd be really, really bad.
Not good. So maybe you've got to do like the little tether thing like you do on treadmills.
I think maybe you should not be a part of their product rollout. That's what I think. Like I feel like that's a bad move.
I think that's a product that is destined for a recall from the Consumer Product Safety Commission right there. Yeah. Something else that should get recalled, hacking Kia, remotely controlling cars with just a license plate.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So apparently poorly designed web interfaces that allowed people to look up all the information on a car using just the license plate info and then control that car.
Awesome.
Yeah. Because, license plates are hard to find.
They're very difficult to find. Yeah. You have to like look at them. And then like memorize them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on the front of the car, you can't even see it.
Snap a photo of them.
In most states.
I mean, it's really you have to. Then you got to go get the photo developed. And like that takes a week.
For our listeners, if you're ever signing up for a service and there's information that's not really required or you don't think is required,
don't give it.
Don't give it. Or get fake stuff.
Like my favorite is like filling out forms at the doctor's office and they ask for your social security number. And I'm like, nope. Like every time, like you
why do they still
your
ask
mind.
that? Why do they still ask that? It's so
they can
dumb.
send it to collections, I'm sure. But like, I'm like,
sure.
you have straight lost your mind if you think I'm about to put that on this form. Like, nope. So.
And you know what's even worse is the places that send you a link to a online form and it's like a Google Doc and they want you to put that kind of stuff in there, like your birthday. Like, don't do that, listeners. Don't ever put stuff in a Google Doc.
It's a bad idea.
Just don't. No.
Speaking of good ideas that are terrible ideas, this, by the way, this is Sanjay's dream and nightmare wrapped up into one, which I'm very excited about. College students used Meta's smart glasses to dox people in real time. So here's what they did. They connected the smart glasses to live stream to Instagram. Then they ran a program monitoring the Instagram feed and automatically picked out people's faces. And then they ran the face through facial recognition software and found the person's name, address, all kinds of information. And they were able to real time walk up to people like in the subway and be like, hey, don't I know you? Didn't you work on this nonprofit project like whatever months ago? And the person's like, oh yeah, so good to see you again. And like, but like real time doing this, like faking like they know these people. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I say it's your dream, just to be clear, listeners. Sanjay's dream is to walk up and immediately know a person's name.
Yeah.
Because he's not great with names. And I get that. It's his nightmare because, well, you know, he's security minded and this is terrifying.
Right. Like this is, there is no privacy left in the world. And these students have said like, hey, we were just doing this as a proof of concept. We're never going to release this. You know, in like 15 minutes, somebody else is going to have built this and will release it.
Oh, for sure.
Because we can't have nice things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once it's proven that you can do it, they're going to do it immediately. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Every time.
Exactly. So yeah, I would love for me to have the ability to know everybody's names because everybody seems to know my name. And I'm like, I have no idea how I know you.
Yes.
And I don't know details. I wouldn't even need it to like look up on the internet what you've done. I would just need to know like the interactions you and I have had before.
Right.
So that I could be not dumb.
Yeah. I think being not dumb is generally a good plan.
Yeah. That's my life plan. It doesn't always work out, but
it's like Dwight's favorite piece of advice from Michael Scott. He told him, don't be an idiot. So every time I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that thing?
Well, talking about something that an idiot should do or shouldn't do, I don't know. Stolen Ferrari worth $575,000 was found by tracking the owner's AirPods. So yeah, this person's $575,000 car, which I don't understand how it was stolen and not had some other kind of tracking mechanism in it. LoJack is a thing and other things are things or whatever.
Apple Tracker or Tile or any one of like a ton of different aftermarket options for tracking your $500,000 car.
But I guess they did it with their AirPods. They left their AirPods in there and then tracked where they were. And then they found the car.
Also, like, I'm not sure what it says. Like, I wonder what version of AirPods these were. Like, are these the cheap AirPods or the nice ones? Because
dude, it's in a $575,000 car.
It's the cheap ones,
gold and diamond encrusted iPods that they only made 8 of.
Yeah,
and you and I have never seen before or touched or even heard of.
Fair enough. Yeah,
that's the ones.
Tech wreck, time to get your tech wreck.
Tech wreck, chicky.
Tech wreck, time to get your tech wreck.
All right, Sanjay, it's tech wreck time. What do you have for us this week?
So I've got not a specific product, but a company's range of products. There's a company called Innovelli, and I don't think I've talked about it before, but they're a brand new a reasonably brand new company out of Michigan that is making high-end light switches. And I've gotten a set of these and replaced out my light switches. So the thing that is special about these light switches is they run on home automation software. So they run either on Zigbee or Z-Wave, or the one that I love, Matter and Thread, which is the new technology that we've been talking about before.
Yeah, right.
Here's the neat things about these switches. First of all local control. They don't rely on the cloud. You can control everything locally. So if you lose internet connection, everything still works.
Right.
They as a company go away, it all still works. But they have built some really fantastic features and a lot of functionality in their switches. So each light switch, or most of the light switches, has a LED bar right next to the light switch that you can then automate and do things like show the dimming level or show notifications. Like, hey, if the timer on your coffee maker goes off or whatever, you could have the light notification thing in your light switch in your bathroom, change color so that it's ready. So you can do so many interesting things with these light switches. They've done a fantastic job in manufacturing these things and supporting them, and really focused on the user experience with them. So I've bought 10 of them, and I'm going to be switching out 10 different lights in the house to these switches. And I think over time it's going to be even more of them because, like I said, they're doing a fantastic job.
So I'm not going to lie. When you first said they're high-end light switches, I really wanted to mercilessly make fun of you. But now that you've described it, it sounds pretty good now.
If you're doing home automation stuff,
it flicks better. It flicks. The flick is so much more satisfying when it goes on than, it's
like you're sure that it's there.
Yeah, it's the difference between a keyboard and a mechanical keyboard. Obviously, it's better. It's like that. It's like,
one of the features that they've got there. So I sillily did something in our house that was not the right way of doing it. We've got these under cabinet lights using Philips Hue, and the Philips Hue lights, you should have them powered constantly and not on a switch light. I didn't know that because this is the first time doing this. So I have them on a switch light. So the problem is that you turn the light off and the Philips Hue things then just shut off and they don't dim out or whatever.
And all that other stuff,
well, these Innovelli ones, you can actually set them to say provide constant power to the outlet.
Nice.
So that then the switch just sends signals to the Philips Hue to turn on and off. And it works the way that it's supposed to do.
So what I'm hearing you say is you can install these in your kids' room and tell it to provide constant power so the kids can't turn off their overhead lights and it messes with them. That's what I'm hearing you say.
100%.
Perfect. That is worth buying right there. I like that plan a lot. So, okay.
So basically, if you want to do like a torture cell where the lights are always on, the music's always blaring, you can 100% do that with these.
Got it.
There you go.
I'm on it.
Not recommended, but you can do it. What about you, Adam? What do you got for us this week?
All right. So last week, or really last episode, I should say 2 weeks ago, I recommended the app Sunsama, and now I'm going to tell you my review of it. So this is amazing. It's completely changed how I go through my daily tasks. And so here's essentially the summary of what it does. Every day I look at my calendar and I pull my calendar into it. And then I look at my task list and I pull all the tasks that I want to get done for the next day into my task list in Sunsama. And they pull from whatever task manager I'm using. So it integrates with Asana and ClickUp and Todoist. It integrates with all this. You don't have to change your task manager at all. So I pull the tasks into Sunsama, what I want to do tomorrow. And then I look at them and I say, okay, well, this task is going to take me 10 minutes. This one's going to take me 30 minutes. This one's going to take me an hour. And then I drag each task over into my calendar for the next day, filling in gaps in my schedule. And it automatically blocks that hour for me, or that 30 minutes or the 10 minutes in my calendar, so they can't get booked by something else. And so then the next day I literally just pull up my calendar and it's like, all right, here's task number 1, 2, 3, 4, then a meeting, then another task, then a meeting, then another task, and just go through my whole day and just crush all the tasks. And then I'm done. It's fantastic. It works so well. And it's time boxing. It's time boxing for your to-do list. So
yeah. Oh, that's cool. I like that. I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's unbelievable. I feel I'm already a very productive person in general. I tend to get a lot done. I get even more done. It's wild how much stuff I can get done in a day with using this method. So highly recommended if you're looking for some upgraded task management in your life. Sunsama is the way to go. So, all right, Sanjay, how can our listeners find and connect with you?
They can find me at sunjparekh.com. That's where I post random things, and I'm trying to be on Threads a little bit more, but not so much yet.
Okay.
I'll get there. Maybe Instagram too, but I don't know. I have a hard time doing the social thing. After Twitter imploded, I've kind of fallen off that whole thing.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
What about you, Adam?
Find me on my website, adamjwalker.com. It's got links to the social profiles that I want you to know about, and not links to the others. And sign up for my newsletter.
How do we find the links that you don't want us to know about?
Oh, you don't. Those don't. Don't ignore the man behind the curtain. That's all I'm trying to say.
do.